Today's episode in the Midlife by Design Type series focuses on generator Kristin Cirimele. Kristin and I met while on a retreat this spring, and she is a fellow midlife generator mama who homeschooled her 4 kids until recently when she shifted into real estate. We talked about parenting as a generator and parenting generator children, how fear can be a cue that something is actually meant for you, how to use sacral sessions to help you discover things about yourself, why following your intuition makes you totally unstoppable, and specific tips for generators to take care of themselves. I hope you find this episode helpful in understanding what it's like to live as a generator type. Thank you so much for tuning back into the Midlife by Design pod. Today we have our guest, Kristin Cirimele. Kristin and I met at a retreat earlier this spring, and she is a fellow generator here to talk with us today about being a generator in this midlife phase. She is a mom of 4 kiddos who is also obsessed with human design and astrology. She's been studying it for about 4 years. And Kristin lives in Las Vegas, has been there her whole life, and was homeschooling her kids for quite a few years until a couple of years ago when she moved into real estate. So welcome, Kristin. I'm so excited to have you here today to talk about being a generator, midlife mama.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in. We've got a few questions to ask you just about being this sacral being, which is such a beautiful thing. I love being a generator with this juicy aura. And, there are definitely some challenges. So one of the first things I wanted to ask you was about the challenges that you faced with aligning to your human design as a generator type, and also a little bit about how you used your authority to navigate those challenges.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of different. Most people find out they're a generator and they're like, well, that's boring. That's what everybody is, right? Like, you're not this special type, but I think I get my satisfaction of being different because I'm a 4-1 and there aren't that many of us. But I like being a generator actually aligned with me a lot because I've always been a go, go, go kind of person. But I can feel the difference between the generator energy and the Manny-Gen energy. So I love being a generator. I think it's so much fun. I think that, honestly, I'm biased, but I think we're the best type because I think we have all of the energy to do all of the things that we want to do, but we also know when to stop and slow down and take time for ourselves too.
Would you be willing to talk a little bit about the noticing, but the difference between the Manny-Gen and the generator? I'd love to hear your observations there.
Of course. Manny-Gens are they're a lot for me, even a generator. So my daughter is also a generator. And then everyone else in our family are all manifesting generators. And it's so interesting because I'm like, they're exhausting to me sometimes. Like, after an interaction with a manifesting generator, I need a nap, and I'm a sacral being, right? Like, it's so strange that that's the case. We're supposed to be the ones that have a lot of energy too. But I find that for us as generators, we know how to channel our energy into what we want to use it on, where manifesting generators are like, oh, this looks fun. Oh, this looks fun. Oh, this looks fun. Oh, and they can just go, 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 go. And at the end of the day, I'm like, how are you not tired? That is too much for me. And again, I I think we're just so focused. Our energy is very dialed in. So we pick a topic, or, whatever it is, cleaning your house, it doesn't matter. But we're focused, we're dialed in, and we have all the energy for that one specific thing until we don't anymore. And then we move on to the next thing, where Manny-Gens can just bounce back and forth like a freaking ping pong ball. And it's too much for me.
Some people think that manifestors are the most intense, but I think it's manifesting generators.
Me too.
Intensity. Yeah.
Me too. I think manifestors are their energy is so unique too, but I personally, as a generator, find that I have much more chemistry with non-sacral beings than I do, or another generator. But the Manny gens just like, yeah, their energy is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. So this idea of the challenges of being a generator and being especially a mother who is a generator, what are some of the first things that come to mind when you think about the challenges you've had?
I think the challenge has been trying to navigate allowing my children to be who they were designed to be, but also honoring my own design. And now that my kids are older, it's much, much easier. But I also think that it's gotten easier because I now know them on an energetic level. Obviously, as mothers, we know them intuitively. We know their emotions. We know more about them than anyone else in the entire world. But knowing them also on an energetic level from a human design and an astrological standpoint, night and day, like literally flipped the switch on parenting. I'm obsessed with my kids now. And I don't mean that to sound terrible. Like I wasn't ever obsessed with them before, but the younger years is very challenging in general. Like we're trying to navigate getting to know them. They're trying to figure out how to fit into the world. And like I already mentioned, my daughter's a generator, but then all three of my boys are all Manny gens. And I'm a 4-1. My daughter's a 5-1, and then two of my boys are 1-3s. So we have a lot of resonance in the one lines with me and those three children. Mm-hmm. The other child is a 5-2. And so I think that he was always my biggest challenge because we had no resonance in the lines. And then I have the generator energy and he had the Manny gen energy. And learning his design specifically was night and day when it came to parenting because it allowed me to like take the pressure off of myself and know that the way that he is who he's meant to be. And it's not up to me to change him. It's up to me to figure out who he's supposed to be and help continue to guide him in that right direction.
And do you feel like understanding his design and your design helped you to not take things so personally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I think that society teaches us that like the way that your kids turn out is your responsibility. You're the parent. You're the one raising them. You're the one teaching them everything. If they turn out amazing, then congratulations, mom and dad. You did a great job. But if they turn out like shit, then unfortunately you went wrong somewhere, right? Like somewhere along the road. I don't know what you missed, mom, but you missed something because you maybe could have fixed this. But in reality, it's not up to us. These are their own human beings coming to this planet, choosing their life lessons and choosing their design. And it is only up to us to continue to help and guide them in the right direction. But it's not up to us to help them make the right decisions.
Yeah.
So it made a big difference. I mean, there's lots of times I look back and I'm like, wow, okay, because he is going to be 12 this year. So he was 8. So he's the same age. He was the same age as my youngest right now when I first started learning about human design and astrology a lot. And learning some of the deeper level stuff, like his environment being markets, for instance, was massive. And I didn't think that learning a child's environment would be that big of a deal. But actually, at the retreat that we were at, and we were talking about how all of the PHS is actually the most important thing for kids because they haven't been conditioned the way that we have. So they don't have to go through this super long deconditioning period like we have, where, they're not looking at 30 plus years of undoing all of the things that they've been taught. So that actually made a lot of sense. And I was like, well, no wonder learning that he was markets made such the biggest difference to me because he used to fight me so bad about always being the person who got to sit in the front seat. And I was like, there's 2 kids that are older than you. You don't get to sit in the front seat. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Mm-hmm. What do you think gives you the right to bypass your 2 older siblings and get to sit in the front seat? And it was that markets. He needed the view. He needed to see what was going on. And it was just like, he's always the one. If I say, hey, I'm going to go run to the store. Does anyone want to come with me? He's like, oh yeah, I want to go. I got to get out of the house. I need to be around people. I need to be out like in the market. Right. So interesting.
That's such a beautiful example. And you're right. Like we are talking about type specifically, but it's hard to parse out all of the different pieces.
It is. When you're so deep into it, it's like you just naturally see how everything flows together. But I love being a generator. I think it's like you said, it's that juicy aura, and when you're in alignment, there's a big difference when you're not in alignment. But when you are in alignment, people just naturally, like, I feel the magnetism now that I'm aware of it. I feel it. I mean, I'll walk into places sometimes and I'm just like, okay guys, I gotta get out of here, because like I can feel the aura change. So it's really interesting.
That's fantastic. Do you see it come into play in either parenting or in your work, that magnetism and that, that generator aura?
Yeah, with work a lot, because I do real estate. So I'm working with the public and I'm working with a lot of people who don't know me. So I definitely get a lot of that, like, oh, you just have such a warm and bubbly and inviting, personality. And it's the generator.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So curious about, as you have experimented over the last 4 years, your personal goals and ambitions, and have those shifted? Obviously, you moved into real estate out of homeschooling your kids, but just curious about your path and how human design has played a part in that.
Yeah. So human design has definitely given me, I guess I'd like to say, the freedom to just be able to honor who I am, and beyond just the generator type, but getting into, the different gates and all of that, like, to see that everything that I've always been drawn to was things that were actually meant for me. Like, my design literally says this X, Y, and Z is what I'm supposed to be good at. And it's not a surprise that those are the things that I'm naturally drawn to anyway. So the things that I'm passionate about, it's almost like this amazing level of validation to be able to look at your chart once you really learn all of it and think like, oh no, this is exactly what I've been supposed to be doing, even if you don't always believe in yourself. And I guess that's the biggest part, is like, sometimes you think, well, I don't know, I'm kind of interested in this, but I don't know if I would be good at it. And then you learn about your design, and that's actually what you're amazing at. But my favorite way to explain that to people is that there is no such thing as imposter syndrome for something that you weren't meant to do, because we get drawn to certain things because we're actually attracting them. If you weren't meant to be doing that thing, you would never feel like an imposter. I don't go to the mechanic shop and watch the mechanic doing work on cars and think, oh my gosh, what if I screwed something up if I did that? What if I messed up somebody's car if I did that? You don't think that, because you know why? Because I don't care about working on cars. I've never even considered it in my entire life. It's not something I'm drawn to. But when it comes to something like starting a new business in an area that you're passionate about, you come up with every reason why you can't do those things because you're scared. In reality, it's because it's meant for you. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So when you start to notice those things, then you're not so scared of them anymore, because you can think, okay, the reason why I'm feeling some fear here is because this is actually, like, I'm drawn to this thing, and that's why I'm supposed to be working through this fear to get on the other side, so that I feel like, okay, I do actually know what I'm doing, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit about your connection with your sacral when it comes to, like, parsing out those things that you're drawn to? Yeah.
Yes, I love that. So my favorite thing to do, when I probably started these maybe 2.5 or 3 years ago, is to do sacral sessions. And have you ever done a sacral session?
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun. I enjoy doing them myself, but like, I love to do them for other people because I can read their body language in the midst of it. And I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. But it takes a little while. So if you are a sacral being, and again, does not matter, generator or manifesting generator, you have a defined sacral, you are a sacral being. So have someone ask you a series of questions. half of those questions are basic no-brainer answers like, are you a mom? Do you have children? Do you have 4 children? And your body is automatically going to say yes because it's subconscious. But then you can weave in some of those scary questions. Like for me, it was, do I really want to do real estate? Is this really the right time for me to transition into a new career? Ask those really, really hard questions. And then you start to notice the difference between the and the no. Like for me, I feel my entire body tense up when it's a no. And when it's a yes, you're like, like you can feel the energy shift. So when you get really good at it, it's really easy to be able to tell. But in the beginning, doing those sacral sessions and really starting to pay attention to how your body responds was one of the best things for me.
I love that. I have worked with some generator types that have, in one way, shape, or form had some relatively serious trauma that has kind of disconnected them from their body, so I just want to kind of put a pin in this caveat that it can take a little bit of work to connect with that sacral feeling if it feels unsafe somehow, which, obviously you could do with a therapist or other type of healer. But I also like to just talk about the different ways that your sacral does respond. Like the is definitely, those are 2 ways, but it can also be just like your body moving forward, or as I'm listening to you, I'm like nodding, right? And doing all the generator things. Or by contrast, you find yourself shrinking back, or you said that tensing feeling, those are all encompassing like sacral responses that I feel like oftentimes we kind of tune them out or we disregard them as not really important, or, that doesn't mean anything. So we just let them go. And it's actually our body giving us really important information. So
we're conditioned so much, though, to not trust ourselves, and teaching other women how to tune back into their own intuition is one of my favorite things to do, because I think that an intuitive woman who is in tune with her body and understands who she is on an energetic level is like society's number one fear, because we are unstoppable when we get to that point. And if you could look around, if you could look around the world and see all of these strong, powerful, intuitive women just like naturally leading with their heart and doing exactly what they were meant to do, like we would change the world, because we would change our children, we would change the men. Like it would be drastic. It would be drastic. And society doesn't want this, right? Because you can control people when they don't know what they want. And if you teach women how to understand what they want on a physical and energetic level, game changer. It's completely different. So yeah. And so learning how, like you were talking about with trauma, there's a lot of situations. Doesn't, physical abuse, sexual abuse, drug abuse, anything that you've been through, it may take you a little bit longer, but just remember that these are natural, God-given abilities within your body, and every single person is capable of them. It just might be breaking through those barriers and learning to trust yourself again before you really feel the difference.
Absolutely. And okay, I want to switch gears, and we're talking about being a mom and being a generator. And I want to ask about self-care with the demands of, you're in real estate, you have 4 kiddos. That is 4 kiddos. So we have that sacral life force energy. And a lot of times because of that, people think like we can just go, go, go. And so they load on the things. But what does your chart look like in terms of defined versus undefined centers? And how do you take care of yourself?
So this is something that I've definitely had to work hard at over the last few years to make myself a priority, because My definition channel that makes me a generator is the 5027, which is the nurturing one. So like I was meant to have all these kids because I just want to love and nurture and take care of everyone, but I self-abandon all the time and I always make sure everyone else's needs are taken care of and like I'll be fine. Don't worry about me, guys. I got this. But I was burnt out. I was exhausted. I was taking care of everyone and everything, the house and I worked back then too, but I worked a remote from home job. I wasn't out doing things. So for me, I finally actually what it was my dad passed away. And when my dad passed away, I was 31 years old and I was like, what the hell? I got robbed. Like he was 64, zero medications, like pretty healthy, had just retired. And I was thinking, like, life is not guaranteed. You know, you can wake up tomorrow and not be here anymore. And it just completely flipped an entire switch in my life. And I was like, you know what? I need to be a priority because if I'm in better mental state, better physical state, like this makes me a better person, which makes me a better mom. We all know that, but it's just a matter of actually making it a priority. So I went back to the gym because working out has been something that I've always loved to do. And I think that for generators and manifesting generators, like it doesn't matter what that workout looks like. It could be weights, it could be yoga, it could be rock climbing or mountain biking, or even just taking your dog for a walk. But I really, really, really think it's super important for us sacral beings to find something that we're passionate about that gives us the ability to burn off that extra energy that we don't do, you know, mentally throughout the day. So I have gate 5. So routine is like very big for me, but I also have a lot of openness in my chart. My only 3 defined centers are my spleen, my sacral, and my G. So everything else is open. I have 2 completely undefined centers and 1 that only has 1 gate. So very, very open. I have 2 channels. That's it. And so for me, I need the routine, but I also need the freedom to be able to do whatever feels right for the day. And one of my favorite things when I very first like started my own business and working for myself, everybody always says, oh, entrepreneurs, they wake up early and they go to the gym and they do this and they're done by the end of the day and they go to sleep early. That is not me. And I was trying to conform to someone else's idea of what I was supposed to be doing. But this is why it's an experiment, right? Like, this is why you just like, you commit to like, I'm going to figure out who I am and what works best for me. And I tried that. I've always wanted to be a morning person because everybody says, oh, the early bird gets the worm. You got to get up early, be successful. No. I like to sleep and I like to work out and I like to do yoga. And so it's really important for me to like honor myself and know myself to the point that I know what I need. I need 8 hours of sleep every single night or I am not a fun person because I'm tired and my body just feels tired. And I like to relax. I need my, you know, downtime to just decondition where no one's talking to me and no one's bothering me because I have all of those open centers. So I have to like purge all of that energy. Mental, my head and my ajna are both completely open and my emotional center only has 1 gate. So working with the public, being around people all day long, I take on so much energy from everyone else that I need at least an hour at nighttime to just kind of like zone out and, you know, read a book and just purge all of that extra energy because otherwise I can't fall asleep. So I've learned that about myself. I love baths, but I don't get them all the time because I'm so busy. But yeah, you just have to figure out like what it is that makes you feel better and make sure that you do those things.
And knowing your design it's like a playbook, you know, like anybody who has a lot of undefined centers, I would say, you know, a bath is great, like Epsom salts, like drawing out, literally cleaning out those energetic centers.
Yep.
Or like you were saying, the workout, I'm the same way. I have to get some kind of movement in every day. And I feel like when we get to this phase in our life, this midlife phase, it's like we've had a fair amount of practice with things that aren't working and conditioning that we've taken on from other people, like you were talking about, where I should be doing this, right? And then when you discover your design and you really start to dive into it and experiment with it, it gives you that permission to really question, like, these things are saying I should be doing this, but maybe my design is telling you no, like that's not a good feeling, or I'm just listening to my body and it's not working for me. So I'm going to try something different. So part of what I love about human design is that it is an experiment, and you've got this playbook essentially that you can mess around with and see what works.
I love that you said too, giving yourself permission, because I think that that's like the number one thing is like, we're so just conformed to, well, if I want this, then I have to do this. But who says who? Says who? Everybody says, well, you want to be successful, you can sleep 6 hours a day and get 2 more hours a day into your time frame, and you can accomplish so much more in that 2 hours. And guess what? If I don't sleep 8 hours, I ain't accomplishing crap the next day. So it really doesn't matter.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And the idea of self-abandoning that you mentioned, I feel like is another classic thing that women do, right, to ourselves, because we're always putting especially our children, but other people first. Yep. And I think that that's another gift of this sort of phase of our life, is we've had the experience enough to know, like, okay, maybe we don't want to do that anymore. So how do we prioritize ourselves and taking care of our own energy? So, all right. Well, Kristin, I don't want to take any more of your time. So before we sign off, though, are you doing human design readings? Are you working with people to help them? And do you want to talk about that?
So I'm in the process of getting my life coaching certification. I want to help women. I think that once you've been in this experiment for so long and you feel and see the difference in who you are, that you just want to help everybody, because I want everybody to feel good about themselves. And it affects so much. I think that self-esteem comes from just allowing yourself to see who you really are and accept all of it, even the bad stuff, because we all have things that we're good at, and we all have things that we're not so good at. And that's okay. That's how we're supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be good at everything, because if I was good at everything and you were good at everything, nobody would be special and nobody would have certain gifts that they're capable of doing. So reading a chart and seeing, like, well, you're supposed to be good at this. Like I mentioned, I have gate 5. I don't have the 15, but I have the 5. So routine is really, really important to me, but I can stick with my routine forever because I don't have that 15 that's going to make me get bored and drop it off. So, and then do you? And then I have the 57, which is a very intuitive gate, and it's in my cross. So really, like, leaning into that intuition and listening to it, I have been able to fine tune it to the point that, like, I get downloads now where I'm like, oh, I need to call so-and-so because something just popped into my head and I don't even know where it came from. I also have learned that having the open throat gives me the ability to speak on other people's behalf because it's just messaging that's coming through me. So yes, I do readings. I don't have a website or anything like that, but I'm always happy if anyone reaches out. I like to do a mix of both astrology and human design, because I think that astrology is the map and human design is the guide. So think of it like your GPS is literally the human design, but the map that you're looking at from the overview is your astrological chart. And when you can weave the two of those together, it's magic.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can people find you then?
I'm on Instagram. That's probably the best place for me. So it's just my name, Kristin Cirimele, with an underscore between the two.
Okay. Which I will put in the show notes for you so you can reach out. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your generator mama wisdom with us tonight. And if you are interested in having a reading with Kristin, or maybe some life coaching in the near future, depending on when you're listening to this, then reach out to her on Instagram. All right. Thank you so much, Kristin.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Midlife by Design episode highlighting a generator. Hopefully, it has helped you to understand how this energy and aura works and how you can work with it, whether you're a generator yourself or you just have them in your life. Please remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts so more midlife mavens can find us. It is so super helpful. And if you want to understand even more about your own design, book a session with me. Link is in the show notes. And as I sign off, I'm wishing you the joy you deserve, the courage to let your baggage go, the determination to live out your purpose, and the clarity to be who you came here to be.